historical romance took the world by storm and became a cultural phenomenon. Let's embark on a journey to revisit this timeless masterpiece. The beginning of the movie, we see a treasure hunter and his team trying to pull a diamond out of a sinking Titanic. With the help of machines, these people find a lot of broken things inside the ship that had been buried under the sea for many years, as well as an old broken box. They take the box out of the ship, and the treasure hunter is very happy to get this box because they have been researching it for many years. Then everyone opens the box, and they get nothing but some dirt and a diary. The team leader was upset to see this diary because he thought they might get a diamond from this box. Then everyone cleaned the diary well and got an old picture from there. This picture was of a very beautiful girl who also wore the necklace of that diamond around her neck. In the next scene, we see an old woman watching the news at home. This woman's name is Rose. In the news, Rose sees that treasure hunter talking about a painting from the broken Titanic. Rose could recognize her in that painting. It was Rose's own picture. Rose then called the researcher and asked if they had found the diamond from the Titanic. The researcher says he didn't find it and also asks if she knows the woman in the picture. In response, Rose says that the girl is me. Upon hearing this, the researcher immediately called Ross to their ship. When Rose arrives at the ship, she first looks at her old picture and gets a little emotional. The researcher then requests Rose to tell them something about the Titanic and to remember memories of the old days. Then Rose goes on to tell the story of her whole life one by one. She came to Titanic with her future husband. When Rose first boarded the Titanic, she could see a lot of people coming around to see the ship. Rose says that the ship was like a dream for everyone, but it was a suffocating place for Rose. The next scene shows the hero of the movie. He was playing cards at a hotel where he lost everyone and won a third-class ticket to the Titanic. The boy's name was Jack, who took the ticket and went to the Titanic with his friend. Everyone on the Titanic was going to America. Everyone on the Titanic was overjoyed. Then the ship was released, and the Titanic began to move slowly across the Nile. Then we can see Rose, who was looking so beautiful. Then we see the ship's captain instructing someone to increase the speed of the Titanic. Then we see Jack and his friend, who are having a lot of fun, coming to the very corner of the Titanic, watching the dolphins in the water and enjoying the beautiful view of the ocean. Then we see Rose having breakfast with her family in the morning. Rose had her future husband with her. He was a very angry man who used to treat Rose very badly all the time. Rose gets angry and leaves because of his bad behavior in front of everyone. On the other hand, we can see that Jake was a very beautiful painter, and he used to sit on the Titanic and draw pictures of everyone. This is the first time Jack has seen Rose. Rose was so beautiful that Jack couldn't take his eyes off her. Just then, Rose's boyfriend arrives and forces Rose to go inside. Then at night, Rose and her family were having dinner, and Rose was very depressed, and just then she left crying. And to commit suicide, she came to the side of the ship. Because Rose was upset about her life, this time, Jack gets there and extends a hand towards Rose. Rose doesn't want to come and tells Jack to leave. But to save Rose, Jack says he too will jump off the ship with Rose. After hearing this, Rose can't jump and goes down from there. In the meantime, Rose's legs got awkward and she was falling from there. But Jack grabbed her hand tightly and told her to look him in the eye. Then Jack brings Rose out of there. But in the meantime, some officers may know that something has happened here. Just then, Rose's future husband, Oakley, arrives, and everyone blames Jack. The ship's officers were arresting Jack, but at the time, Rose told everyone that it was not Jack's fault, but Rose's. And after hearing this, Jack is released. Oakley became happy to see it and invited Jack to dinner the next day. In the next scene, we can see that Rose was in her room and, at that time, Oakley came to Rose, and he put that very expensive diamond necklace around her neck. The necklace was so beautiful that she looked at it. Then we see that Jack is ready to go to dinner in a very nice dress. Seeing that, everyone thinks he is a rich first-class passenger. Jack didn't know the manners of the rich, so he looked at everyone and tried to walk very smartly. Then Rose came, who looked so beautiful. Then the two of them started talking together. Dinner begins a little later, and when the meal is completed, Jack takes Rose from there to the third-class passenger cabin. Rose was the daughter of a very rich family, but Rose had a lot of fun going to the poor cabin with Jack, and there was a lot of dancing, singing, and rejoicing. Rose was a first-class passenger on the Titanic, but it's never been so fun. But one of the problems is that Rose's future husband's manager sees her. The next morning, Oakley means Rose's future husband shouts at the Rose, and he was too upset to know that she danced with Jack. Not only this, but Rose's mother also shouted at her. In the next scene, we see that Jack meets Rose in secret, but Rose doesn't want to meet him and tells her to leave. But Rose didn't want to leave, so she met Jack again. Jack grabs Rose's hand and brings her to the edge of the ship and tells her to close her eyes. Jack tells her to open her eyes as Rose stands on the edge of the ship. Rose was surprised when she opened her eyes because it was beautiful to see the sea from the ship, and they were both very happy. After many days, the two of them had a wonderful time together. Rose then takes Jack to her room and asks to draw a painting of her own. It was that painting that the researchers' team found on the seabed. Jack's painting was complete, and the two were having a lot of fun together. Meanwhile, the ship's captain could see a large iceberg in the middle of the ocean. The ship came very close to the hill, so everyone in the engine room was very busy and tried to turn the ship on the other side, but it did not happen. And because of this, water began to seep into the lower chamber of the ship. Rose and Jack both saw the incident, and then Jack left with Rose to go to her room. But the room was already filled with Oakley and with other people. Oakley tells Rose that he had given the precious diamond necklace as a gift to Rose, which was stolen. Then the search begins, and they all find the diamond necklace that was found inside the coat. Jack screams and tells Rose that he didn't steal the necklace, but no one listens to him. The security guard then arrested Jack and took him away. In the next scene, we see that all the staff on the ship start to get very tense as the ship starts filling with water. And everyone told the ship's captain that in just 2 to 3 hours the ship would sink. So they took out some of the small boats that were on the ship and began to lower some people into the sea. Many rockets were fired from the ship so that anyone from the city could see them and come to their aid. Oakley was taking Rose to get on the boat, but then Rose remembered Jack and ran away. The water in the lower chambers of the ship was so high that Rose was drowning, but with great difficulty, Rose let Jack out of there. There was so much water in the basement rooms of the ship that Jack and Rose couldn't figure out where to get out. On the other hand, we can see the scene outside the ship, where it can be seen that the ship has started sinking under the water. Jack and Rose were together, and Oakley was still looking for Rose. He realized that Rose didn't like him at all. But on the other hand, she loved Jake so much, which he couldn't accept. The two of them then meet Oakley on the ship. Oakley requests Rose to get off the ship in a boat with all the other women and children. But Rose decides not to go and stay with Jack. After seeing this, Oakley can't control his anger and starts shooting at Jack. But somehow Rose and Jack escape from him. Then we can see that the ship is slowly sinking. Lots of people were trapped in the lower chambers of the ship, unable to get to the top. But Jack struggled to get to the roof of the ship. Lots of people jumped into the water from the top of the ship to save their lives, but they all died. as the world's largest and most beautiful ship slowly began to sink. Then we saw the ship split into two. In this situation, Jack and Rose were holding each other very tightly on the very side of the ship. But for a long time, the two of them couldn't hold themselves together. As soon as the ship sank, they all drowned together. After a while, Rose floats up and starts looking around. And finally, she finds Jack in that ocean after a lot of searching. Jack tells Rose to sit up on a wreck. The seawater was so cold that Rose began to shiver, and the cold in Rose's body became very bad. But Jack kept telling her that you have to endure a little more until someone comes to help. Rose was freezing in the cold, and Jack's condition was not very good, and he was floating on the water and somehow holding Rose. In the next scene, we see a life-saving boat approaching them. Rose was lying in the woods, as when suddenly she saw some people coming towards the boat, and Rose got up and started calling Jack. But Jack didn't get up. Rose realized that Jack had died in that cold. Rose promised Jack that she would not give up and would keep herself strong. So Rose got out of there and started calling the man on the boat. In the next scene, we can see that it is morning and some people have come to the city in good health. Many rescue teams have come to save everyone. A police officer then approached Rose and asked for her name. Rose said her name was Rose Dawson, meaning Rose used the title of Jack here, because Rose's real name was Rose Dwight. After this incident, the flashback scene stops, and we see again the old woman who was telling everyone the events of her life. At the end of the movie, we see Rose come to the edge of the ship and reminisce about the old days. At that moment, we see Rose holding her old necklace in her hand, which has been close to Rose for so long. And it was that necklace which this research team has been struggling to find for many years. Then Rose floats that necklace in the water, and the movie ends here. So friends, how did you like today's story? This is the story of a very romantic and well-known movie, Titanic.